Hello, I'm Philip Stoughton. I am on the Ko-Young booth at Apex 2024, and to wrap up the show today, I'm joined by the lovely Eric Miscoll again, and this time by our very generous host, Joel Scutchfield from Ko-Young. Joel, first of all, thanks for having us here today and part of yesterday. What we've been doing is we've been talking to a lot of CEOs, a lot of them using your equipment, and it's been really interesting to get their insight on where the industry is and their experience with Ko-Young. That's been a real pleasure. What have you seen on the booth? You've met a lot of those CEOs, but you've had a lot of customers by. What does the show look like for you so far?
Yeah, we've had a lot of those conversations, certainly. And first of all, thank you for being here. I think this has been fantastic and really adds to bringing value to, I think, what we're trying to do collectively as an industry in terms of really understand what each other are thinking in terms of, how we go forward, right? And where are we now? How we go forward? What are you doing? What are they doing?
Yeah.
How do we? And I think that's been the theme of the week, Phil. It's been interesting to hear how, we've had this connectivity initiative for several years now, right? And we've started this partnering process, and others have as well with various players. And we all know at the end of the day that, to really get to where we want to go, we have to go beyond partnering with specific providers or suppliers, partners. Everybody has to be able to play with everyone, right? CFX was the initial and still is certainly mechanism to allow for that to happen, but we're getting a lot more requests for doing more with additional providers, but not only providers, but with customers specifically. So it's not a customer saying, hey, you need to partner with this provider because that's who supplies that technology to us. You need to collaborate with us directly as a customer, and through that effort, we're gonna accelerate our business by leveraging the best of what you can offer, what we can offer, et cetera, et cetera. So it's interesting to see the involvement. I think it's been a little bit of an eye opener also to some of the folks that maybe didn't think this was going to happen as soon as it looks like it might need to happen.
Yeah, and I think collaboration's a really interesting topic. I have the privilege of spending some time with your customers quite often, and we've seen some examples where they've really influenced your development and products, and then we've seen other people. Patrick at Matrix is a great example of someone that just constantly wants to push the envelope in terms of how things are manufactured, and he's shaking things up and getting things done.
And he's getting results.
Yeah.
Great results.
And you said to me today, one of the things that you spotted and you thought was a theme from the show is open collaboration between vendors, and it's not just we'll share our data, but it needs to be secret and needs to be this. It's a much more open strategy, isn't it?
No, it really is. I mean, people are staying in their lanes, right? Why waste money developing that solution when Jason with Aegis talks about the composability, right? Which is exactly that, putting together the solution with the best parts, right? And that can resemble different ways. Just like if I go into a factory, an EMS factory, I see, the SMT line, there's different solutions there, right? A lot of times I see Ko-Young, sometimes it's one of your competitors, right? But everybody has, it happens. I know. Work on that, would you please?
Working on it. Absolutely.
But no, absolutely. And you're seeing that in the software, you're seeing that with the hardware, you're seeing that in the hardware with the software. I think it's a great trend.
Yeah, and I think your comment about staying in your lane is really interesting. When I was talking to the Cogiscan team about the recent announcement of a collaboration, what I found really interesting there is you've got this combination of deep domain expertise, which comes from Ko-Young, and you've done work in the software field, and you've built this K-Smart system that synthesizes all that data for all the inspection. And then you've gone that extra mile with Cogiscan to add insight value on top of that across the whole line by being collaborative. And you have to do it that way. You can't do it on your own.
No, that's absolutely right. And we've done similar things with other providers in that space. And I just finished a conversation literally, before I came over to sit down with you two gentlemen on that very topic. And how do we take it forward from here, right? Okay, we've started the process. We've certainly seen the value. We know we want to take it forward. How do we do that, right? Because you still have to be conscious of the fact that we all have, IP to protect to some degree, right? Even though we know we have to, get a little more liberal with stretching the boundaries on that to be able to achieve what we need to achieve. And I think as time goes on, we're going to see that maybe it's not as proprietary as we think it should be, right? At the end of the day, and again, there's an evolutionary process, and again, we're all in the business of competing and growing, and we have to win business to do that. So we have to be careful, and that's basically what that was. But certainly, or what that effort was all about. But certainly, we're going to figure out a way to go forward. We'll do our due diligence on both sides to say, okay, here's our roadmap, here's your roadmap. Where do we come together, right? Where does it fit? And start with that. And then what I see is expansion from there, right? Time will take care of a lot of this, just like it's driven us forward to this point, right? From where we were 3, 4, 5 years ago when we first started having these conversations. Right?
No, I think it's hugely valuable. One of the trends we've been talking about, and you talked about it very eloquently in the piece you wrote for SMT today, is this focus on efficiency in the factory, focus on operational excellence at the moment, and a lot of that comes from that data, but some of it comes from a desire to have growth in the business, which they're seeing through reshoring, but to do that with the same number of people, because it's really hard to recruit talent. Are you seeing people come to the booth and say, hey, we need automation, we need machines, but we need to operate it with less people?
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I mean, an additional level or layer of intuitiveness or in some cases just completely replacing to a great degree the number of steps involved with doing something, anything, right? Pick a topic, pick an event. So, and I think the next big move or push in that area, Phil, is in the structuring and use of AI to basically deliver a data, actionable data, which is something we've talked about many times, in a way that, again, we eliminate the need for the operator to be the one that's trying to figure out, okay, I've got all this great data, what do I do with it, right? And we've done a lot of that already with the tools that we've created, but I think that's the piece that has a huge benefit, where you see companies like CRM and others out there that are basically Salesforce, et cetera, that are using a lot of AI. You see the commercials on TV to mine information and to provide information very quickly that sure you could have gotten there, right? But with a heck of a lot of effort and resource involvement, now you're able to get that again through the use of AI in a matter of seconds or minutes or something to that degree. So that seems to be the next horizon. We have that data. We will continue to apply that data to our AI applications for all the various efforts that reduce the human requirement, because again, that is without a doubt going to continue to be a constraint. Certainly based on the input of everyone I've talked to the last few days. But beyond that, how do we now help manage the results of what all that effort has created?
So we look at that collaboration that provides all that data, that brings it up to the platform. We look at what we're currently doing to provide insight. The next layer on that is probably AI. You've been around the show. Like 5 years ago when we walked around the show, everything was Industry 4.0. Now everybody's got an AI tag of some kind on their booth. Do you think we're still high on the hype curve? We've still got the valley of disappointment before we start to see real applications. Where do you feel we are on that journey? You talk to a lot of people.
Yeah, well, we probably are, in answer to your question, but I mean, what you're talking about here with the automation, that automation human kind of, John Mitchell had a good term today talking about the operator, right? Where as it becomes more, the lines become much more automated, right? There's going to be fewer people doing that, and you're going to have, so it's a super operator who's capable of not just doing the AOI, they can do take care of everything, right?
Or multiple lines.
And as a result, that's a higher skill level, that's a higher pay level too, right? So I think it benefits, and that's really going to be the evolution of what's happening here, way before we get to, if we ever get to lights out, right? I mean, that's an ideal that I don't know when or if it'll be realized. But on the AI piece, AI is the great multiplier there, right? That's really going to enable so many things here. Of course, as a psychologist by nature, I always worry about the human side, right? Because, AI is moving so far. My concern is, how are we as humans developing within that too, right? Are we maintaining our smarts and our intelligence? On a presentation I saw today, they were talking about the increase in knowledge. It's like, that's not really knowledge. That's data that's increasing. We're generating a lot of data is not knowledge, right? And that's what you're talking about with the actionable insights, right? And then being able to make some recommendations on what to do with that data. And that's where what you were speaking to.
Remember, we used to look things up in an encyclopedia when we were kids, or we were told to. Hey, Mom, what is this? What?
Yeah. Go look
it up. Go look it up. Go look it up.
Look at one of those encyclopedias.
Yeah, look that up in your Funkin' Wagnall, right? But and that's obviously not the case today. You just Google it, or pick up
YouTube it.
Or that,
any solution
pick
these
up,
days,
pick
right?
up Media Avenue, and it's all out there. Yeah, there's nothing you can't learn.
So access to a huge amount of data. We put that data on top. Like you say, we're creating more interesting jobs. We're potentially creating better paid jobs, more sustainable jobs.
More attractive jobs too, right?
Well, that's what I was coming to, the thing of attracting people to the industry. My impression from the CEOs I've spoken to is when they do outreach to colleges and universities and they get people through the factory doors, it's a eureka moment because their perception of manufacturing is dirty, dull, an unpleasant environment. But when they get into these factories, they're not only excited by being able to use the equipment like your equipment and being involved as a programmer or whatever, but they're excited about the fact that what's coming off the lines is maybe going into space or into an EV and stuff like that.
Exactly.
And there's real value there, but it's a challenge getting that next generation excited about the industry. There are too many of us with either less hair or grey hair in this industry, and we need to switch that up somehow.
We absolutely do, and I know there's a lot of effort going on to assist with that at the university level in particular, but even down into the STEM programs, et cetera, et cetera. But you're absolutely right, and I talked about this also in the piece. Is it's a pretty cool industry, for techies in particular that that are drawn to that, right? And we just need to continue to expose and make them aware of what the possibilities are. We certainly need to come to the table with regards to making it attractive from a compensation, lucrative. Everybody wants to be a millionaire, right? So we have to be competitive as an industry with some of the other industries out there that we're going to be competing with for those young resources. But you certainly see programs popping up, and in some cases have been in existence for several years now, for semiconductor engineering or something to do more so on the manufacturing side than with just the theory of design, let's say, right? I sat down with president of dean of engineering at a very prominent engineering school about a year or so back, and we were talking with his head of the specific department on this semicon initiative, and I said, you really need to teach and expose the manufacturing side. It's not all, theory and design, and that's always seemingly what it's been. And you get out of college and you go to your first job, and that's when you get your actual manufacturing experience. Why not start that sooner? Why not expose them sooner? Because that's what's going to really draw them to the industry, right? The design stuff you can take anywhere. If you can expose them to the manufacturing piece and get them excited about that and what those possibilities are, get them thinking of a career path that involves that. Now we've done something.
And Eric, I know you. One of the things that you're always saying to me is these companies wouldn't have a shortage of people if they paid them more, so better jobs. You're also always telling me that they need to go and make more money.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's what you were saying. But I think that's part of this too, as we think about it, right? Because it's the tedious tasks, right? We're automating all that with cobots and robots. Look at what's going on in the material, with the materials room, right? Moving all the parts and everything. It's you don't have people pushing around, right? I mean, that can be right. You can automate that, be away from it, and you're not paying $10 an hour, whatever it is, for somebody to be chasing parts anymore. So those super operators, as John called them, are going to be, it's going to be higher paid work. It's cooler work too, right? You get to play with robotics. You get to, this is exciting, right?
You're and a pretty important piece.
But then you also have to pay them. You have to pay them a good rate so that their focus is on work, not worrying about at home and are they going to pay rent and are they going to have enough to get by. That's the purpose of pay is to get somebody's attention on your tasks. So
get them there and keep them there. That's the other side of it, right?
Well, the good ones, right?
Yeah, for sure. And that usually takes care of itself. We hope. But yeah, that's really my first job out of college was with Texas Instruments, and at that time,
you and a million others.
Exactly right. And the reason for that is TI stood for three things: Texas Instruments, Training Institute, and Tiny Income.
Oh wow!
So that's what happened, right? All these kids would come in out of college, they'd get great experience, and 3-4 years later they leave. They go get more money somewhere else. And
well, that's what they always say. When you're young, you're paid in two ways, right? Through money and experience. And when you're young, it's the experience that's the most important, right? Because you gain that experience, and the money piece will get better. So.
Yeah, and then as you get later on through life, it switches around. Interested in Eco Young have done a great job of retaining and building a really good team. You have a great team here and down in Mexico. Tell me how that team's been doing over the last few months and what the trade show looks like in terms of performance. I know it's been a tough Q1.
It has been a tougher few quarters, and don't let me not come back to the team, because they are phenomenal and they are the reason that we are as successful as we are. There's absolutely no doubt about it. But we're going through a period right now where in Mexico in particular, I think there's a lot of excess capacity, and the reason for that is a lot of companies, EMS types in particular, invest a lot of money in preparing for I think what they thought was a never-ending supply of EV and green initiative, cloud-based orders, et cetera, and that's leveled off, right? That's leveled off. So until that starts to come back around, we have to find other ways to grow, and that's exactly what we're doing. We know that the new line avenue is going to be a little bit less than what it was during that 2021-22 period, and I think what we're going to see is something more of a slower rather than a ramp. But how do we do that? So I call it our 11 avenues of growth.
11.
One of those consists of obviously adding systems to new lines being added by those customers. But we have a lot of technology that can supplement, augment, make those same customers more efficient. Again, operational excellence. Basically, how do we now, during this period in particular, help them do more with less or the same number of people that they have on staff? We do that through the K-Smart software utilization through the use of all of these tools that we've created that require less human intervention, right? And we do that by adding technology like the Neptune, the dispense process for inspecting specific technologies or processes where maybe that wasn't being done before, right? And they're now realizing a need, and so their focus becomes how do I get better with what I have? How do I build more horsepower into the lines that I have? And I think we're in a very unique position to help them do that. Yeah. And that's what we've been doing this week at the show. Yeah. The show has been, I think it's been pretty phenomenal so far. Yeah. We're into day 2. I think our lead count has already surpassed quite extensively what it was last year. Mm-hmm. And I think last year was a phenomenal show for us. I thought I came away thinking it was probably one of the best shows we've ever had. Yeah. So my understanding here is that the overall attendance is down just a little bit, right. But our attendance here in the booth has been up significantly. We were up 50% over day 1 last year as we started the day today, and I just provided information that tells me we're going to be probably close to that on day 2. So I can't complain.
You can't complain.
No,
you certainly shouldn't complain.
We got what we came for, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It feels like mission accomplished, and a lot of quality, right? A lot of quality, a lot of people that actually have near-term projects, many of which are for these alternate technologies that either they're not using now, pre-reflow, for instance. Again, the Neptune, something that they feel is going to, again, increase their ability to be more profitable. That's really what it's all about. Help with their overall operational efficiency.
Yeah, and I think there's a sense of that. I think there's a sense that during this slowdown, it's time to look inside. It's time to get things buttoned down and working properly and working better for the next ramp, which they're all confident that will be coming down the line. So, those investments in efficiency will pay dividends, and that's something we've seen throughout the show.
It not only carries them through, it also sets them up to be even more explosive when things do turn around, right? So they'll have the groundwork laid and all the pieces in place, and
we're ready to go.
And we're ready to go.
But the disruption to the workforce, which downturns traditionally in the old model in EMS, when it's down to you're laying people off or getting shorter work times and doing that. With increase, you're not laying them off. The people are still there. They're focusing on some other thing. Exactly. So the disruption is minimized, which means that the retention is, because every time you laid them off, they're looking for jobs, right? And you may or may not get them back. So I think it's that the whole automation trend as a complement to the workforce, I think, has been a really positive one.
And I think people have learned through disruption that if you are that kind of contract manufacturer that shifts your workforce numbers up and down when demand is up and down, it is really hard to recruit and retain numbers later on.
There's no doubt, and our technology really plays into that, right? We are automated inspection. Consider the number of people that are out there that are still doing, oddly enough, manual inspection on a broad scale globally. How much better off are they going to be? And this kind of comes back to using the automation where it makes sense, using AI where it makes sense. There are so many other more productive things that those folks can be doing than staring at circuit boards with their eyeballs, right? So let's move them to a point in the line where there's an absolute need, because there's not people knocking down the door to get in. So it's just necessity, mother of invention. It kind of works itself out, but we just play very well with
it's
all
those super operators looking at screens where they're managing a number of lines, and in some cases managing lines that are in different geographies and different locations, and using your software to enable that. It's valuable.
We've addressed that very well, right? And that's that. I think again that's a huge part of our success, identifying the fact that that is a true possibility that we can achieve with the right initiative and focus, and we've done that, right? Allowing a single operator to monitor multiple lines or multiple cells. reducing programming time through automation and AI, and
reducing training,
all of those things.
All those things that help that whole thing. Guys, thanks so much for your time. Continued success with the show. Thursday's always a bit of a tough day at Apex. It's a bit of a light one, but we'll see how it goes.